Welcome back, fam. I'm Dana,
And I'm Holly.
and tonight we're going to do something a little different. The air's colder now, sharp, with fallen leaves, shadows stretch longer, and the nights arrive a little soon. This is the season when the veil thins, when what hides in the dark whispers just a little closer to our ears. Halloween isn't just costumes and candy, it's when our deepest fears slip out of the shadows and remind us we all carry monsters in our minds. Some fears we bury, some we chase away with laughter, but some catch at the edges of our dreams, refusing to be ignored. So tonight, we invite you to step into the haunted corridors of the subconscious, to face the monsters that have terrified us on screen for decades, and discover the truth of what they really are: symbols of balloons, shadows, and secrets we've been too afraid to face. Because here's the thing: when you face a monster, you might just find it's been guarding your power all along. So, welcome to Monsters in the Mind, Episode 1: The Fear That Haunts Us. So, Holly, we're talking about two really big characters in horror, Freddy
Yeah.
Krueger and Jason Voorhees today.
I
Which
think
one's your
maybe
favorite? Before we start, who's your favorite?
my favorite really is Freddy.
Mine
I
too.
really think, yeah, the character coming to you in your dreams, because so often our fears do manifest within our dream. But also Jason, I think because that's the first horror film I ever watched. And the fact that he keeps coming back. He keeps coming back.
Lawrence.
He always does. And I think part of us too, like, why do we seek out fear? Why do we go and pay to watch teenagers run through the woods or fall asleep when they know they shouldn't, right? But
Right?
part of us
Right.
wants to feel alive, and horror lets us meet fear without dying from it. And in
Right.
hypnotherapy, fear is like that threshold between repression and revolution.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it is. And I think too that it pumps up our adrenaline, gets that going and without us really having to go and do anything.
Right, right.
That
Well,
adrenaline rush without having to run.
yes, yes.
Yes.
And it activates our amygdala, which is like an emotional smoke alarm. So it
Mhm.
scans everything, all the sight, sounds, vibes for threats. And when it senses danger, it gives us that big, huge rush of adrenaline. And that's, when our hearts rush and we get all like, oh, what's going to happen? She's going to get killed. He's going to get killed. And the body thinks it's in danger. So it activates that nervous system in a different way. And I think, it does. It makes you feel alive. And it's why we can laugh right after screaming, right? Because our bodies feel like they survived something. And survival feels good.
It really does. It really does. I've been watching scary movies since I was tiny, like I was little. And
Yeah.
I can remember after certain movies and I'd have to go to the bathroom or whatever, I'd make my mother go in there first to make sure nothing was hiding. I'm out there about peeing my pants and she's like, "Why do I have to go upstairs and check the bathroom for you?"
Right. Right. I was the same way, except I would have to check things out myself. The heart pounding when you're little, especially, and you've watched them.
Mhm.
But some of the best memories, right? And some of the greatest lessons. I mean, in hypnosis, we do a similar dance, but in reverse. We intentionally calm the body first and then invite the mind to explore a perceived danger. from a safe distance. So in that case, the amygdala realizes, wait, nothing bad is happening. And it doesn't sound the alarm for us to go through it so that we can rewire that loop of fear. In horror, safety comes after fear.
I mean,
We can be drawn to it, drawn to Fred, drawn to Jake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I think too, it's interesting that both of our favorite is Freddy and that he has to do with, nightmares, and nightmares are directly associated with the subconscious. And we're both hypnotherapists. It's just, you know,
It's ironic.
speaking of Freddy, because he's not just some slasher with fun hat and finger knives, but he literally lives in the dream world. So let's think about it. Like he attacks us in the place that we're the most vulnerable, when we're asleep, when we've got no defenses. Like that I think is where the fear is, because how do you run from what's inside of your own head?
Right.
And honestly, if not sleeping is the only way to avoid Freddy, without sleep, you die. So either way,
Exactly.
Freddy wins. One thing I always, like when I remember watching this with my mother, and you know how like the kids in this show, they always try to tell the adults. And in every horror story, the kid is always trying to tell the adult what's going on. Like, there's a vampire living next door. There's a man in my nightmare, and it's real, and things are coming out. And the parents are always just dismissive.
Right.
It's not, that's not. I remember asking my mom, if I told you the neighbor was a vampire, would you believe me? It was so important for me to know that she would believe me.
Right.
And that's why she went and checked the bathrooms for me.
Yes. I mean, Freddy turned into this supernatural punisher, like a literal ghost of collective guilt. And his glove with the sharp, constant, invasive, intrusive sound of those knives, running across metal. And the only power he held was belief.
Right.
He only exists when you remembered and believed in him.
Right.
And that's the thing.
Into your dream.
Yeah, exactly. And
she fed off of it. He's really like shadow self made flesh. He's
exactly.
Every repressed memory. It's just like kind of clawing its way up through the cracks.
Exactly. Because dreams are direct speech from the subconscious. So Freddy weaponized dream logic, right?
Yes.
As to where hypnotherapy harnesses it for healing. He it's like he had a marketing plan.
Yes.
And the only way to defeat him is to withdraw attention from him, to face him and look him dead in the face and ignore him, right? Just to let him go.
It's hard to do that though. Like, have you ever been in a dream and you actually know you're in a dream? I mean, I have, but it's not when you choose to.
Yeah. That lucid dreaming. I remember having dreams. I never really saw monsters in my dreams or anything particular, but knowing someone was chasing me, that was definitely something that I dreamed of. And when I realized I was dreaming, then I could stop running, and then nothing was ever there. So it's like, what am I trying to run from? What am I not acknowledging within myself that I'm trying to run from?
I've oftentimes had nightmares that I'm running from things. But I've had actual monsters in my dreams too, but some of them aren't real monsters. Like one time it was Gonzo from the Muppets. He was trying to kill everybody. It was Gonzo. It was actually a Gonzo doll.
Yeah.
Okay? So it was the doll, and the doll came to life, and it was trying to kill everyone. But I've had some really weird dreams. But I don't know. Are you like this? I've had even nightmares where I woke up from the nightmare and I immediately am like, I realize, oh crap, I don't want to wake up yet. I want to go back into it. Even the nightmares. Because
Yeah,
now I want to get back into it and see how it ends. I want to see what happens.
I am like that too. And I know if I close my eyes quick enough, I can drift straight back into that dream. I mean, and really, Freddy, he was like that trickster archetype, and he exposes hypocrisy
Yeah,
in a lot of ways. You know, what nightmares do we keep replaying in our waking life that manifest in our dream life?
exactly. Because like when clients even talk about their nightmares, it's usually the subconscious, it's waving that red flag. There's something unresolved.
Right.
There's something's there. It's just scared to face the daylight. Freddy's
Yeah.
that nightmare that you can't wake up from until you deal with it. And that's where
Right.
when you have dreams that repeat, it's really trying to tell you something. And until you deal with it or on its own, really, sometimes it can pass on its own, but and you don't have to really figure it out. But it does get dealt with.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And I love Carl Jung's perspective about his concept of shadow because we can look at both Freddie and Jason as the shadow side. And he said collective projections of what society disowns is our shadow. So we build Freddie and Jason so we don't have to admit how cruel or afraid we are sometimes or how we feel.
Right.
You know, what do your favorite monsters say about what you're trying to integrate? Are you trying to integrate power over your mind? Are you trying to integrate being seen? What are you integrating with your favorite monster?
Right. And you know, the parents in the movie in Freddy, they they tried to cover up his crimes and their own. And they tried to bury him, bury the existence of him. But
Yes.
that trauma doesn't stay buried. It seeps into the next generation. And that's why Freddy haunts the kids. Because
Yes.
he's trauma that's passed down. It's an unresolved pain that just keeps coming back and coming back. Only this one has claws.
Exactly. And that's the thing. I believe a lot of people don't realize that when we don't heal trauma in our own lives, it does seep through to our children, our grandchildren, our great grandchildren, until somebody faces that trauma and it'll show itself in repetitive patterns. We can look at it in the case of domestic violence. A mother was abused by the father. The daughter marries an abusive man. Perhaps her son becomes an abuser. You can see it in patterns in families all of the time. Some religions call it generational curses, but really it's unresolved trauma and not healing what happened to you. I mean, let's look at Jason. Before Jason ever lifted a machete, the mother lifted her grief. I mean, Pamela loses her son to neglect, right? And she does not process that guilt of feeling like she should have been there. Not only the counselors that were distracted, but as a mother, that mother wound, right? And her maternal instinct is turns into vengeance instead of healing and grieving for her son. So her mind fractures. She hears Jason's voice, kill her, mommy, kill her. And Pamela is in every part of us that couldn't save what we loved. She can be in any one of us that
You know,
feels like that.
so many people forget about that very first Friday the 13th movie. Like,
Yes.
Jason wasn't even Jason in that movie. It was his
Yeah.
mommy. It was his mom. And I really like that. That's my favorite. of the Friday the 13th because of the meaning and it actually brings story to it and that's why, she goes and it's really about the teenagers that are supposed to be watching the kids that are off doing
Yeah. Yeah.
other things. We'll just say it like that, other things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm. Like Jason then in the following ones it's just he's completely different from Freddy. He doesn't
Right.
speak,
Right.
he doesn't scheme in dreams. He just keeps coming. He's silent, relentless, and he's masked. And that's what makes him terrifying because he's really inevitability with a machete.
Yeah.
Machete.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I said that right.
I mean, and in trauma, the subconscious freezes at that instant of loss. Now, under hypnosis, clients often meet that version of themselves, like Pamela, still standing at the lake, unable to move. But healing that trauma releases it and helps you move through that grief. But you're right, like Jason never goes away. He's always there. He keeps coming. You keep running, but you never turn to face him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's such an important key as well, is the turning to face him. Because
Right.
when we face our fear, when we look at it, we can see what it's trying to show us. We can see what it is. And then it becomes really small and insignificant.
I mean, that's why you can't even kill it.
Right.
You can try to kill Jason, but unless you actually face what caused it, facing the neglect, facing the
Yes.
this unresolved grief, really, and
Yeah.
neglect.
I mean,
It's just going to keep coming.
it keeps coming. I mean, Freddy was kind of the mental tormentor, right? Intrusive thoughts, inner critic. And Jason is that somatic reactor. The suppressed emotions stored in the body is trauma. The conflict between overthinking and overreacting. And we can see that in our own lives. We can see different things like that.
I mean, they really are basically two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
Freddy's the shadow of repression, the pain that we hide inside, and Jason is the shadow of neglect, the pain that we refuse to deal with until it just kind of bursts out. And both of them just remind us that you can't shove pain into the dark and hope that it goes away.
Right.
Because
it never goes away that way.
The subconscious keeps that. And when it comes back, it's a lot scarier than if you just face it the first time.
Yeah. I mean, Freddy's fear of loss of control and Jason embodies uncontrolled force. So in healing, we learn containment, control without suppression, power without destruction. And you can tie to emotional regulation, mindfulness, and that subconscious reframing. I mean, imagine Freddy sitting on one shoulder, Jason on the other. Instead of like, the angel and the devil, you got Freddy on one, Jason on the other. Now breathe until they stop fighting and tell them we can protect ourselves without your war against us, right? So acknowledging, I think a lot of us too don't want to acknowledge that we have thoughts that we have, which can be a monster of sorts. Yeah. And the fact is, you have to acknowledge we're human. We can have thoughts that aren't that great. We just shouldn't act on them, right? We shouldn't be a Jason, never stopping with a knife, complete uncontrolled force, taking out everything in its path. But if we acknowledge that thought, that we would consider a shadow thought or a dark thought, and know that we're just human and we release it, then it no longer has control over us.
And I mean, having a thought and doing an action are two different things. Two
Exactly.
totally different things. You can have the thought and then be like, yeah, well, I would never do that.
Right, right. I mean, every
Every
culture
culture.
externalizes fear through myth, right? Medusa, vampires, werewolves, slashers. Freddy and Jason are the post industrial shadows. Fear of sleep, which could be fear of rest, fear of nature. With Jason, don't go in the woods. And we all need rest and we all need nature. So we can even tie it into that. Being able to rest, allowing yourself to rest, and allowing yourself to just soak in the beauty of the forest, of nature around us.
Right. I know people that are scared to go into the woods because of movies like this.
Yeah,
It's like, what? The cool thing is that hypnosis and horror both live in the same world. They're both in the subconscious. Freddy exploits it, and hypnosis heals it. Horror traps us in the nightmare, but hypnosis gives us the keys to the dream. When you enter like
right.
a trance, you're stepping into the same landscape where Freddy stalks, but instead of being powerless, you're reclaiming control. You're rewriting the script of your own mind. So if you have a dream or a nightmare that you can't escape in the dream, or you're a Freddy of your own, hypnosis can help with that.
Hypnosis provides safe disassociation so that you can talk to that inner monster. Under the trance of hypnosis, the monster often just says, I wanted you to feel safe. I was trying to show you this or that. And so then the monster actually becomes the guardian when you face it and you look at it. They were really trying to protect you in your dreams, but the fear of thinking of someone trying to come after you, someone chasing you, someone who looks scary, something who is unrecognizable. Often the fear takes over instead of reasoning. Okay, what
Right.
is this trying to show me? But through hypnosis, we can talk with the body regulated and without the fear pulsing through you so that you can break that down and face it and get rid of it.
Exactly. It's empowering too. I've done this with clients with dreams, and it's empowering for them. They learn. I've often, if it's just like a shadow or someone that can't see their face, I've often given them a candle or some kind of light, maybe a crystal that shines, that they'll then hold up and see what it is that brings enlightenment to the
And
situation.
comfort. Yeah. So maybe horror, just maybe, isn't about death after all. Maybe it's about the resurrection of the parts we thought we lost. It could be about integrating those parts and taking the fear and changing it to power.
Right. Changing
Yeah,
that fear into power. We've talked about that before.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because the real horror isn't the monster. It's just refusing to deal with it. And
Right.
the freedom comes when we stop running. When we say, okay, show me what you've got. Give me your all. Let's play.
Exactly. And every horror story begins with separation from safety, from
Mhm.
love, from self. And healing is kind of the sequel to the horror story, where we return to the lake, the dream, the shadow, and remember that even monsters crave peace. Both
Right.
Freddy and Jason had suffered trauma themselves.
Freddy was kind of an evil person when he was alive, too, though.
Yeah, he was. He was. Wasn't there somewhere in one episode where they showed something horrific happened to him in childhood and then he become that evil person? If I'm remembering right, I could be completely off.
I don't remember. Let's see.
Yeah, we're both checking now. This is live, y'all.
Exactly.
This is what we do. Yes. He was this is what I'm remembering. The original mythology, Freddy's mother was a young nun who worked at a psychiatric hospital, right? And she got locked inside with the inmates, 100 violent, criminally insane men, and they assaulted her repeatedly. And so he was the son of 100 maniacs. So can you imagine carrying that?
Yeah.
And it says his early life was filled with abuse. He was bullied by other children, physically tormented by a stepfather who mocked and beat him. So, yeah, he was abused as a child and then chose to become a monster himself instead of healing. So he was born in violence, raised in abuse, and dies in vengeance, and then returns to chase people in their dreams and repress them and further generations.
Yeah, because when he gained dream powers, he used it to play God, essentially, and control. He wanted to control fear instead of being consumed by it.
Exactly. So he wasn't just the abuser, he was also the echo of what happens when society refuses to face its own darkness. Can you imagine the trauma that the mother went through? And then growing up in this small town, everyone knowing, and what was said to him as a child, and the psychological effects that has on him.
That would be rough.
Yeah. Now, that doesn't mean you get to choose to do what he did, of course, but that goes back to unhealed trauma. And we can choose to live out that unhealed trauma in many ways. And one way is becoming the perpetrator, the abuser, the murderer.
The Springwood Slasher. That's what he was.
Yes.
That was his serial killer name. The
Yeah.
Springwood Slasher on Elm Street.
Yeah.
I think it's very just chilling too. The whole aspect of the justice system didn't help them. The parents had
Right.
to take. Like, there's a lot going on in A Nightmare on Elm Street.
There really is. It's a good view of how society does react to many injustices.
And nobody helped him when he was young.
Right.
So I think too that made him even more, that the town came together to help their children, but nobody came to help him.
To help him. Exactly. And with nobody guiding a child who's been through trauma and labeled in such a way, you can get a monster.
You can.
When that child is not given help. And no, that doesn't make an excuse. That doesn't make me feel sorry for what he did or anything like that. But it's a reality
for what happened to
him. Yeah.
Person to get to that state, but not
right.
For
not
what happened to him after what he did.
Yeah, for what they chose to do.
Still make our own choices.
Exactly.
Life hands us things. It's up to us to know or decide how we're going to deal with that. Are we going to go get help? Go seek out help? Are we going to, go crazy and become a serial killer? That's a choice. That's a real choice. It is.
I mean, it really is. And we can think that, well, I would never choose that. but
But
it is a choice. Have you ever been so hurt by someone that the thought does cross your mind, I could beat them half to death, or I could shoot them and watch them bleed out? Honestly, people have those thoughts, and they're human thoughts. The difference is if you act on them or not. And acknowledging that somebody hurt you to the point that you want to physically hurt them, that is also the difference in why you don't physically hurt them. Because you have to acknowledge, I'm so hurt, and I know that's not the way to act out. So I probably really need to talk to someone or work through the pain that I've been through because of someone else.
I know I've had thoughts. Usually my thoughts are in reaction to something else, but I don't act on those.
Exactly.
Not the bad ones, not the bad thoughts.
Right. Not the bad thoughts. And I think working it out even in your own mind, acknowledging that you are that hurt, that you could even conceive doing something that way. And people who are going to say, oh my gosh, no, I've never thought anything bad like that. If you haven't yet, you will. Everyone has those thoughts. Everyone has learned how to control their own reaction and understand it's a choice what you do with your own pain. And pain can be real and consume the whole body. It can come out in rage and anger. Why do we have so many rage rooms? So that people can get it out of the body.
We have to express that.
Right. And if you haven't had a thought, then you wouldn't be in that rage room.
Right.
Yeah.
Even if my boss puts one more weekend on me.
Exactly. It's overwhelm. It's pain. It's hurt. Yeah.
Maybe the real nightmare isn't Freddy or Jason at all. Maybe it's what happens when we stop listening to the parts of ourselves that are crying out to be seen.
Yes, because when you finally turn toward the monster, you realize it's been guarding the gate to your power all along.
Well, if this episode stirred something in you, don't keep it in the shadows. Like, share, subscribe, and drop a comment about the fear or dream that's been chasing you.
And if you're ready to face your monsters in real time, come join us every morning at 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central for our free priming meditation, a daily dose of breath, gratitude, and confidence to start your day grounded and glowing.
And then every Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, we go deeper together in the hypnotic imagery journey. And that's where the subconscious opens and the healing begins.
And don't forget our She Reigns Now retreat. It's coming in March. 3 days of transformation, connection, and crown claiming energy. If you're ready to rise, soar, and conquer, this one's for you.
Oh, and Halloween coming. Oh, we're just going to go full dark goddess for that one. We're going to have a special imagery journey to face and release fear. You know, the kind that's been whispering your name.
So mark your calendars, bring your courage, and maybe a little salt for protection, because we're walking right into the shadow and coming out shining.
Because monsters lose their power the moment you meet them with love.
Your fears, not the end of the story. It's just the part where you flip that script.
See you next time, Flip Bam.
Bye.